Question number 5, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Speaker, to the Minister of Economic Development, does he stand by his statement that, and I quote, the global financial crisis and the Canterbury earthquakes were not projected in any of these forecasts, close quote?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Yes, Mr Speaker, I stand by my full quote in reply to a question about a forecast in Budget 2009. And that quote was, some of the forecasts since we came to office have changed, and the member may well be aware, I'm not sure, that the global financial crisis and the Canterbury earthquakes were not projected in any of those forecasts in 2009 to the extent they have occurred. That is the nature of forecasts. As the member may recall, the first Canterbury earthquake didn't occur until September 2010, and the more significant one on February 22nd last year. In addition, the global financial crisis has been a moving feast since it began. For example, at the beginning of this year, there was a whole new crisis in the Eurozone.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, before the Canterbury earthquakes began, was GDP above or below Treasury's December 2008 forecast, and by how much?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I don't have that particular example at hand, but I'm sensing the member is saying it's below. And as I pointed out, one of the other bigger things that's been going on is the global financial crisis, which has been making it very difficult, I'm sure, for forecasters all over the world to find out exactly how things should go. But the good news for the member is that we have had growth in 9 of the last 10 quarters, and New Zealand has been seen as riding out these crises relatively well.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Well, speaking of which, Mr Speaker, to the Minister, are the latest GDP figures above or below the forecasts made immediately after his government came to power in December 2008 during the depths of the recession, and by how much?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I'm sure again, by the way the member has asked that question, he's assuming that they're below, and the point I would make again is the same point as in the primary question, is that the Canterbury earthquake has occurred subsequently, and also we've had the situation with the moving feast that is the global financial crisis. I'm not sure the point the member is seeking to make, but the point I would make is that the government, under the leadership of the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, have done a very good job in managing its way through those crises.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, if GDP was below those forecasts, why did he tell the House in answer to question 8 on 29th of February that, and I quote, the pre-election update last year forecast the current account deficit to widen by just about $5 billion over the next 4 years. The main reason for that, apart from export prices coming off the record highs, is the Canterbury earthquake rebuild, when Treasury's pre-fu ascribes only 1/4 of the change to that.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, as has been pointed out in a question in the House on this matter, in 2016 the deficit is projected to be 6.9% of GDP, which Treasury now estimates around about 1.7% is due to the Christchurch earthquake rebuild. But again, I'd point out to the member these are all estimates and forecasts, and they will continue to no doubt be refined as the years go on.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, in light of these events, in what year did the record number of New Zealanders permanently emigrate to Australia, and why did they leave?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce, insofar as he's not really responsible for immigration if he voted.
Yes, I think it's reasonably far from the primary question, Mr Speaker, but I would point out again that there has been significant numbers leaving, particularly from Christchurch over the last 12 months as a result of the earthquake. I don't have the particular figures to hand.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table this document from the Parliamentary Library, sir, which indicates that only 25% of the deterioration in the current account forecast can be ascribed to the Canterbury earthquakes.
Leave is sought to table that document from the Parliamentary Library. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
I seek leave to table data from Statistics New Zealand, which shows that the year in which the record...
Statistics New Zealand always have a title to their data?
Yes,
release.
The Net Permanent Migration data series.
Thank the member.
Which shows that the year in which a record number of New Zealanders emigrated to Australia was in fact 2010.
Well, we're not going to seek leave for that because members all have that information. Supplementary question, the Honourable Leanne Dalzell.
Is he concerned that repeated delays in the rebuilding of Christchurch will threaten the government's much vaunted return to fiscal surplus in 2014, And if so, what action is he taking to address the failure of the insurance market that appears to be one of the remaining key problems for the rebuilding effort?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, that's possibly more of a question for the Minister of Finance. The point I would make is that the reality is in the Christchurch, as we know, that there are a number of factors impinging on the speed of the reconstruction. And not least of those is the ongoing seismicity that has occurred, which the member will be aware of, and that has the effect of moving construction back at times. There's also other challenges, such as the news that may come out of the Royal Commission in regards to building codes. All those things have to be worked through. The government, I'm confident that my colleague, the Minister of Canterbury Earthquake Recovery, is right over the top of these issues and is constantly updating his colleagues accordingly.
Question number 6, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr Speaker, my questions to the Minister.